Homebuyers and homeowners' nerves ahead of the autumn budget have triggered a visible slump in the upper end of the UK housing market. Data from leading property analysts shows that buyers are holding back from making offers, while many homeowners are delaying listings altogether, waiting to see what the Chancellor announces. The anxiety isn't unfounded. Recent leaks have pointed to sweeping property tax reforms that could hit not just those looking to buy, but also those already on their property ladder, reshaping the housing market for years to come. The Mail on Sunday ran a striking headline that captured the tone of the national debate. Rachel Reeves' mansion tax raid plot. Class war plan will punish hard work and aspiration, say critics who warn nothing is safe from Labour. At nearly the same time, The Telegraph published its own headline, Chancellor eyes up mansion tax as she takes aim at middle class. Both reports point to the same concern that Chancellor Rachel Reeves is preparing to target homeowners with new taxes to plug the growing fiscal hole in the government's finances. This year has been extraordinary for the number of leaks and speculative reports surrounding the housing market and potential tax changes. In the lead up to any budget, there's always speculation, but this year it has been unusually high. In August, The Times and The Telegraph both carried reports claiming that Reeves was considering a new property tax on houses worth more than £500,000. That proposal, though unconfirmed, sent ripples through the market. It was described as a potential replacement for stamp duty and council tax, transforming them into a single continuous annual levy based on the property's current market value. Under that leaked framework, rather than paying tax only when buying or selling a property, homeowners would pay an annual charge linked directly to their home's value. In short, it was a shift from taxing transactions to taxing ownership. A home worth £500,000, for instance, could have been subject to an annual levy, a move that would impact far more than just the rich. It would pull in a large portion of middle-class homeowners, particularly in London and the South East, where average property prices already exceed that threshold. While that particular autumn budget rumour has not been confirmed, it set the tone for what many economists are calling the government's asset-based approach to taxation, targeting wealth tied up in property rather than income. Reeves, who has repeatedly pledged to ensure that those with the broadest shoulders bear more of the tax burden, appears to be taking an asset-based approach to taxation. The latest and most widely discussed leak is the so-called mansion tax. According to multiple reports, Chancellor Rachel Reeves is actively considering a new annual levy on high-value homes as part of the upcoming budget. Under the proposals, the owners of properties worth £2 million and above would face a charge of 1% of the amount by which the property exceeds that value, meaning that owners of a £3 million property would face a bill of £10,000 every year. Supporters argue that this is a fair way to raise revenue without cutting public services or increasing income tax for working families. Critics, however, see it as a dangerous precedent, a class war measure that punishes aspiration and destabilises confidence in the housing market. Property experts condemned the policy as a blunt and crude instrument, which would distort the housing market and disproportionately affect older households, affecting older homeowners who are asset-rich but cash-poor. Many retirees who bought homes decades ago, particularly in London and the South East, now find their properties worth over £1 million on paper. However, their actual income is often modest, and an annual charge of thousands could place them under real financial strain. Britain's public finances are stretched thin. The Treasury faces a budget shortfall estimated between £30 and £40 billion, and Reeves has publicly committed to maintaining her fiscal rules, specifically ensuring that debt as a share of GDP is falling within 5 years. With limited scope to borrow more, taxation becomes the only path left to raise funds. The challenge is that property wealth in the UK is highly concentrated. According to ONS data, roughly half of all property wealth is held by the top 10% of households. The top 1% own homes worth millions, while middle-income households, especially in southern England, own homes that have appreciated massively due to decades of price growth rather than extravagant wealth. That's where the danger lies. Once a new property tax threshold is established, history shows it rarely stays where it starts. Today, the proposed mansion tax targets homes worth £2 million and above. But if the tax proves successful, there'll be pressure to lower that threshold, first to £1.5 million, then to £1 million, and potentially even lower. What begins as a tax on luxury properties could quickly evolve into a broad-based property tax on middle-class homeowners. The UK housing market is uniquely vulnerable to this kind of fiscal creep because property values are heavily skewed by region. In parts of London, Surrey and Oxfordshire, properties worth over £2 million are not sprawling mansions. They're simply family homes in desirable postcodes. Take a look at Rightmove. This is just a simple search for houses in Surrey valued at around £2 million. What's striking is that many of these properties can hardly be described as mansions. It highlights just how far property prices have risen in parts of the UK, especially in the south of England. There have been warnings that switching to a value-based property levy would disproportionately hit middle-class homeowners. Under that system, people with large gardens or those who carried out home improvements which boosted their house price would pay more. Plans have also been floated to replace stamp duty with a new proportional tax on the value of homes which are sold for more than £500,000. What many analysts are warning is that a value-based property levy could create a chilling effect across the housing market. Homeowners may think twice before improving their properties, not because they can't afford to, but because they fear their home could suddenly fall into a higher tax bracket. That means fewer extensions, fewer upgrades, and less investment in the upkeep of Britain's housing stock. People might deliberately avoid renovations that increase the value of their homes, such as loft conversions, kitchen remodels, or energy efficiency upgrades, simply to stay below the tax threshold. Over time, this kind of behaviour wouldn't just harm individual homeowners, it would affect the wider economy. Home improvement projects drive demand for builders, electricians, plumbers, decorators, and materials. If households stop spending in these areas, local businesses and construction jobs could take a hit, slowing economic growth and weakening one of the UK's most reliable domestic industries. The uncertainty surrounding these proposals is already visible in the property data, with headlines such as "Uncertainty ahead of UK budget hits London's high-end home market," prices and sales in prime central and outer neighbourhoods lost steam amid a bevy of speculation about the government's tax and spending plans. The average house price in prime central London slipped 3.2% in the year through August, the biggest annual decrease since March 2021, according to Knight Frank's monthly index released Monday. The dip comes as buyers show some hesitation with transactions across both prime central London and the outer London ring, down 6% in the year through August compared to the prior 12-month period. The past month was filled with speculation about the impending tax and spending plans, which Chancellor Rachel Reeves will unveil at the end of November. The government, facing a £40 billion budget shortfall, is weighing a number of changes to how property is taxed. According to Lucian Cook, head of residential research at Savills, there's a big difference between someone in a £2 million house without a mortgage and someone with a sizable mortgage. So it doesn't necessarily capture net wealth at all. In other words, taxing the headline property value ignores the nuance of ownership. Many homeowners in the £2 million plus range carry substantial mortgages, meaning they don't actually own most of the property outright. Yet, under a mansion tax, they would be taxed as if they did. Similarly, Neil Hudson, founder of Residential Analysts, warned that the measure could have fairly negative impacts on an already fragile market. The top end of the market has been stagnating for the last decade already as it's been hit by higher rates of stamp duty, he noted. A new layer of annual taxation could push prices down further, leaving the government collecting less revenue than anticipated, while also discouraging transactions, the lifeblood of the housing market. The frequency of leaks this year has been unprecedented. From inheritance tax reforms to ISA caps, and now to the mansion tax, speculation about fiscal changes has reached levels unseen in recent memory. Normally, chancellors keep budget measures tightly under wraps, but under Reeves, details and rumours have trickled out almost weekly, some strategic, others likely unintended. In August, for instance, the leak about a potential tax on homes worth more than £500,000 created confusion and outrage. Economists noted that, if implemented, such a policy would essentially transform council tax into a value-based system, a house price tax that would hit middle-class families across the country. The public backlash was immediate, yet no firm denial came from the Treasury. Only a vague statement that the government continues to review all options for reform. Similarly, there have been reports that Labour is reviewing stamp duty, possibly replacing it with a proportional sales tax that would apply to all homes sold above £500,000. Combined, these floating ideas suggest a broader agenda to shift the tax burden toward property and wealth rather than wages and consumption. The wider fiscal context. For now, the mansion tax remains speculative, but the growing number of leaks suggests that it is being seriously considered. Treasury insiders have reportedly estimated that such a measure could raise between £2 billion and £3 billion annually, depending on the threshold and collection model. However, that figure would barely make a dent in the overall fiscal shortfall. This raises the possibility that Reeves may pair the mansion tax with other property-related measures, for instance, tightening capital gains rules on second homes, reducing inheritance tax relief on property assets, or implementing the long-discussed house price levy on properties above £500,000. Each of these measures targets the same base, property wealth, and that is precisely why homeowners are nervous. It's not one policy in isolation, but the direction of travel that matters. The sense that nothing is safe, as the Mail on Sunday headline warned, is what's driving the anxiety. Home ownership has long been seen as a cornerstone of British society, a reward for saving, hard work and ambition. But the new fiscal reality facing the country is challenging that ideal. As public debt mounts and social demands grow, the government is looking to tap into static wealth, particularly in housing, as a way to raise funds. Rachel Reeves's proposed mansion tax, whether ultimately implemented or not, signals a shift in political philosophy. It suggests that future governments may increasingly view property not just as personal wealth, but as a taxable resource. For those who bought homes decades ago, it feels like moving the goalposts. For younger generations locked out of ownership, it feels like long overdue fairness. What's certain is that the debate over property taxation is only just beginning. The upcoming budget will reveal how far Reeves is willing to go and whether the government believes the political risk of alienating homeowners is worth the fiscal reward. Until then, the uncertainty alone is enough to send tremors through the market. In a country where housing underpins both the economy and the national psyche, even the hint of higher taxes can have real-world consequences. For now, homeowners wait nervously for the Chancellor's red box and the answer to a question that could define Britain's economic future. How much more tax do you think homeowners will be asked to pay? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more updates.